this is my review of My Hero Academia. Okay, so the final episode of Season 2 has Shigaraki kind of doubting his convictions and what he actually wants to do. So he asks a familiar face for help. So what happened is we're immediately introduced to two villains who were inspired by Stain's ideology. Himiko Toga, a very bubbly and very unstable girl who apparently has murdered a whole bunch of people and apparently desires to become Stain and kill him and become him. I really don't know how that's gonna work, but that's what she said. But that's what she believes in. And then there's also Dabi, who kind of dismisses Shigaraki and his ideals, but points out that the main reason he joined up is because he kind of respects the ideas behind Stain, and mainly joined up because of that. And while initially upset at the fact that there are now new villains who are kind of the opposite of what he respects, he tries to fight them until Kurogiri intervenes. So instead he leaves the hideout to go clear his head and think things over, and eventually winds up in the mall, that we will eventually come into play later. So, meanwhile, Class 1A apparently is all going to be going to the training camp arc, despite several of them failing their practicals, and the people who have failed their practicals are indeed going to be getting harder work during the summer that the other students normally won't be having. So nobody's going to be being separated apparently. So, our old pal, Mr. Aizawa, he lied. He lied just to get them to straighten up. So, after realizing they're all going to be going to the training camp, it's at this point where Toru suggests that they go to the mall to go shopping for supplies for the training camp. At which point Deku and Shigaraki run into each other, and Shigaraki, despite holding Deku at quirk point, honestly just wants to have an honest-to-God civil conversation with him and try to figure out what the difference between him and Stain is. And Deku, not really having much of a choice, answers him, saying that the main difference he sees between the two is that Stain has ideals and Shigaraki doesn't. So he points out that the main reason he relates to Stain so much is because they both respect All Might to the point where they want to become him and have interpreted his status as the symbol of peace in different ways. And after hearing Deku say that, realizes that the main reason so many people seem to be so obliviously happy is because it's All Might's fault. He believes that All Might is the source of all of his problems and wants to kill All Might so that he can create a world without All Might. At which point he realizes that he had convictions all along and just didn't realize. So at this point where Ochako, who at this point has been trying to come to grips with her feelings for Deku, eventually comes back to find him, only to find that he and Shigaraki have been having this little conversation and back and forth with one another for a while. And Shigaraki gets up and leaves after letting Deku go, and leaves the mall, but not before Deku asks him one question himself, which is, what does all for one want? And Shigaraki, fairly enough, doesn't really have much of an answer. And then thanks Deku for his time and leaves. At which point Ochako calls the cops and they shut down the mall, and Deku is brought in for questioning so that he can describe Shigaraki's appearance and what he was like. At which point, and after remembering some things that Shigaraki said, and considering that All Might was showing up at the police area anyway, so that he could actually give his 2 cents to the police force, actually asks All Might if there's ever a time where he feels like he can't save all the people he can at any given moment, and he points out, yes, all the time, which is why he's always got an unflappable smile, because he knows that there are people in the world that he can't save, considering the fact that he's kind of based out of Japan and can't always be in any country he wants at the drop of a hat. So he continues to smile and stand proud despite the fact that he can't always save everybody, knowing full well that it will at least give them hope so that they can continue to live their lives without fear. And Deku begins to respect him a little bit more, realizing that while All Might is aware that he can't save everyone, that's all the more reason for him to smile and stand proud. At which point, Deku's mom comes in and takes him home, and points out that it's pointed out to All Might that he may need to take drastic measures with the academy in order to make sure that none of the students actually come to harm. So that's a note that they're going to be leaving the second season on. So now I'm assuming they're going to be having stricter security and protocols in place to keep the students safe, so that the villains don't come after them again, which I can understand, because it was a little bit dangerous the first time, because Shigaraki just kind of wound up in a coincidental meeting with Deku at the mall. Imagine if he just decides to seek Deku out next time. So who knows? So yeah, they definitely need some tighter security, because Shigaraki just kind of melted a wall, and some press were able to get in the last time they properly met. So yeah, they definitely need some deeper protocols, and I have no idea what they're going to think of, but who knows. But with that, the first semester of the season is over, and the first semester of the story is over. So I'm only assuming it's going to at one point reach the end of their first year and then move on to their second year, because they are on summer vacation now, and I have no idea how that's going to play out. But this is a perfect segue into the next arc, which is actually the Forest Training Camp arc, but there is a special episode from season 3 and a movie that came out that come in between the final exam arc and the Forest Training Camp arc that I will be reviewing in the next couple of weeks. Depends on when the actual DVD for the movie shows up at my house. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. But anyway, if you guys have enjoyed this episode of My Hero Academia, what did you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter in the description below. And also, check out my Patreon description below as well if you want to help support the channel. It's only a couple bucks a month, and it really helps me out, so I would definitely appreciate it if you did that. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!